Hello and welcome to episode 3 of our series, Everything a Founder Needs to Know About Shares and a Shareholders Agreement. In today's episode, I'm going to be answering a very frequently asked questions I get from founders seeking to incorporate their company in Nigeria. And the question is, how many shares does my company need to have, at least for a start? And my answer to that is, please get as many shares as possible at the start. This is because although generally speaking there on face value there is no limitation as to the number of shares. I mean, your company can have 100 shares, can have 1,000 shares, but if your company is operating or going to operate in a regulated sector, by regulated sector I mean a sector that will require that company to obtain a certain form of license before it can operate, right? Some of those sectors are maritime sector. I know that in the maritime sector, currently the minimum share capital requirement for operating in that space is 25 million shares. Another example is security, right? So if you're operating in the security space, I know that the minimum share capital requirement is 10 million shares. Another example is in the finance sector, right? Depending on the kind of service you want to offer, there are different authorized share capital requirements. So when you take this into consideration, the number of shares will matter in this kind of sectors, right? Then secondly, if you are contemplating raising funds from investors by way of equity, giving out your equity to investors, or you're even contemplating giving out stocks to employees in the future, then the number of shares will matter, right? So these are just some of the two popular scenarios that you have to take into consideration when you're determining the number of stocks or shares that you want to your company should have, especially when you're starting out. And this is very, very important. That's why I always recommend that you seek legal advice and guidance from a corporate lawyer or lawyer who understands these things, so before you launch out to incorporate your company. This will help you save money and save time. Money or time, in the sense that when it comes to increasing your shares, you can always increase the number of shares your company has in the future, right? But to do that, you have to go through certain procedures. First of all, you have to get some kind of special resolution, like authorizing your company's memorandum and articles of association to be adjusted or amended to reflect the increase in shares. The procedure is quite rigorous. That is what you would have avoided at the initial phase of incorporation, right? And then you also save expenses because that process will also involve money. So I'll say at the start, get as many shares as possible, bearing in mind the two examples or the two factors I just mentioned. I hope this has answered your question extensively. If you have questions, as usual, you can leave them in the comment section or just send a private message and I'll attend to them. So see you in the next video.